Well, guys, it finally happened. End of service for Tribe 9. If you know anything about this game, well, the writing was kind of on the wall. It wasn't really looking so good. Tribe 9 was a decently anticipated game in terms of gachas, but it never really quite hit the mark. It had probably one of the worst launches I've ever seen for any game ever made, where people were relatively happy with the game, and it came out in beta and people were enjoying it. They liked the systems, the currency was good, all that. It was perfect. Then the game actually launched. They removed almost all of the currency from the entire game, and it was a gacha game. Obviously, people were not very happy. The first impression was completely ruined, and the game wasn't really looking so hot. We now get this announcement after only a couple months of the game being out, like a month and a half, something like that. And now they're saying end of service. Thank you for playing the game. It will be terminated on 11/27, and that's like what, 5 months from now or something, 6 months from now. I'm not really sure why they're announcing it so early on. I think that's almost ridiculous, but seems like Tribe Nine's not even lasting 9 months. Honestly, I find it a bit of a shame. It's simultaneously comical and a shame. It's funny just in terms of having a game fall flat so hard based off of probably some management decisions and that they announce it so ahead of time. But it's also very sad because I can tell that the game actually had a lot of work and passion put into it by the developers. And you can tell that the person who made the decisions to remove the currency was not one of the developers. It was some management bigwig that wanted to make more money and scam the players. And that's just a tale as old as time, is developers can put in all the effort they want, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to management. And the people who were in charge were too greedy and completely ruined it. This game was made by Akatsuki, which are the same developers as Dokkan Battle, actually. So that's one of the most successful gacha games of all time. So they probably had a good amount of money going around to make a game, but I doubt that this game was even able to recoup its costs. They're saying they're not even going to be able to develop Chapter 4, the story, and there was a character they were going to make that they're not going to release as well. Yeah, right here, Ichinosuke Akiba and Saizo Akiba, and the entire roadmap, basically everything's just canceled. They also said they're going to refund stuff from the, I believe, Battle Pass that has the costume on it. Now, this is something that I find very respectable, though. Purchase of all items will be cut off immediately. And the game's still going to be up for months and months, which I think is honestly a relatively noble thing to do. Because I've seen a lot of games, they'll charge people until the last day, literally the final day of end of service, that you can still buy packs and stuff. So I think this is a, pretty respectable thing to do, the way that they're handling the entire situation. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people ask, why was this game even a gacha in the first place? Because if you know anything about Tribe 9, it actually looks like a full-fledged real game. It's like an actual action game. But the thing is, let's pretend you're going to, I don't know, the head of a company who green lights what's going to be made, or an investor or anything like that. And you say, hey, I'm going to make this game. It's going to be like this. You're pitching your idea. Their first question is going to be, how is this game going to make money? And so what? You're going to say, we're going to charge $60 to $70 for this game. And they're going to say, how about you make the game free to play, but you can roll for things in game and you add a gacha system, because that's going to make infinitely more money, as we all know when you look at gachas. I think it's kind of obvious, really. The writing was on the wall, because even though this website is not correct, this is not a correct website whatsoever, it still shows trends, and this is insane. Even for Sensor Tower numbers, this is insane. Unless you have an unimaginably big phone player base, it just wouldn't be able to succeed. It just makes no sense. It used to actually be 90K, and I called it Tribe 90K, but all the games down here are games that are very close to end of service, honestly, or they're just kind of like barely getting along. Realistically, I think we all knew it was going to happen. And it's sad because there's actually a lot of very dedicated fans for this game. I saw lots. Like, the subreddit here would actually be popping all the time. Even compared to games that are way bigger, it would have a more active community of people being like, yeah, let's promote the game, all this stuff. Like, the fans were really, really dedicated. But then this tweet just came out of absolutely nowhere. The game's currently down for maintenance as well. So if you look at something like the Steam numbers, always 78. But even look at the 24-hour peak, 851. Dude, that's worse than like a small fighting game at this point. That's bad. That's really bad. And you're constantly having to deliver like story updates, new areas, characters, all this content, right? It's just, it was never really going to be able to succeed at the rate that it was going. Um, and it's a shame because I actually think the game was decent. And the developers made a, well, maybe not developers, the management made a giant mistake where they basically tried to screw over the players. Huge problem. But they also did quite possibly one of the best apologies I've ever seen in a game in history, where they said, guys, we screwed up. So we're going to increase all the currency in the entire game. You can get way more from all these different things. And we're going to refund all pulls you've ever done back to you on this date. And they gave like a time frame of like 4 days. So you could spend more money in those 4 days and it would get refunded back to you. That's crazy. I've never seen a game do, honestly, even almost half as much as that. That felt like a genuine apology where they went above and beyond. That said, by that time, people are already burnt. First impression is everything. If people's first impression is them logging in, playing, going, what the hell is this? I'm like, they're scamming us. This sucks. They're not going to return even for free stuff. Because realistically, who cares how free-to-play friendly a game is or how much stuff it gives if, you know, you don't even care anymore. You're not going to re-download the game or play it. This is a similar situation to Black Beacon as well. Black Beacon has completely screwed up in the West with giving favorable compensation to China, like a ton of free things, and then not giving it to the West, which really pissed people off because they had lots of technical issues and stuff like that. They felt like they were the beta test. And it took them like a whole week to address that. And by that time, I heard so many people saying, I'm uninstalling, I'm quitting, etc. First impressions are so important. If you're a giant gargantuan in the industry or like really well known, you can get away with that kind of stuff. You can do that and be like, we're sorry, and people will not only forgive you, but you'll probably still succeed. But when you're an up and comer and you're just a small game or a small company, every single little thing is key. And what's also interesting about both these situations, both Black Beacon and Tribe 9, is these are not crappy slop gacha games. These are not games that you just see all the time, where it's like, oh, you click a button, then it auto battles, and it's like crappy graphics and crappy gacha, all that stuff. These are like kind of full-on games, and they're not doing that well. I think we finally reached the point of sort of gacha saturation in some ways, where before, anytime a gacha would come out, it would have a player base and people would be down to play it. But now it feels like everyone's kind of found gachas they want to play or multiple, and it's really hard to take them away from their gacha games to go play a new one. So you need a game that's even more high quality. And if you have a single screw up, it can just torpedo your entire game. And I think a lot of gachas that are coming out soon probably might fall into the same vein. We might see games that are actually really good quality just die like this. The entire gacha market is kind of just too full right now. And I had actually heard previously from someone I know that's related to the game industry in Korea. He told me that a lot of Korean companies are trying to move away from phone games and make actual full-fledged real games that are not gacha games because apparently that's more of a concern. Now, that's just what he told me. I don't know if it's an objective fact or anything, but hey, from what I'm seeing from these kind of examples, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, let's pretend 15 Genshin Impacts come out. Some of them are just going to die, right? You can't have all these games survive. And Tribe 9 is unfortunately the victim of this. And it's probably not going to be the first, and it's not going to be the last. There's been a lot of gachas that have died from stupid management decisions, and this is just going to be another one of those. It's honestly a shame because I think the game was actually pretty solid. It wasn't my favorite game ever, but I respected what they were trying to do with the game, with its story, its gameplay, etc. Very original concepts, but hey, it doesn't matter when you screw over the players. The customer is always right. And the customers decided, no, we're not going to take this, and they left. And I hope this is a lesson to other companies to not to do the exact same because, I mean, it's a crappy thing to do, really, to try and take all the currency out of a game and make it so players have to pay a lot more. And I would rather see games die doing that than that become a common trend and then everyone copies it and then the players get screwed over. This is just a shame that this happens to be the victim this time. But anyways, just wanted to talk about this. Oh well.